I'm at 40 Westwood Drive in Erlanger, Kentucky. We're doing a sanitary lateral inspection for the purchase of a home. We're looking for any structural issues mainly, anything that would be of concern to the buyer. The access is a stack, a PVC stack in the rear center of the basement, just behind the washer. And let's see here, there it is right behind the washer. There's the stationary tub, and hopefully, based off the age of the house, the PVC is a little surprising, and as you can see, as soon as it goes down through the floor, it does change over to cast iron, which is a little more. This is a little more common for this age, is this cast iron, and so we have a little bit of. May have to turn on the water a little bit to get try to clean off the edge of the camera there now. As you can see, sometimes when we go down through the bottom like that, it does cause the get a little stuff on the front of the camera. So I'm going to run some water through it. It'll also give us an opportunity to kind of witness the functionality of the line. Cast iron is not a bad material, but it does have a lifespan. They average, I think, said it would normally last about 75 years. And so, trying to figure out what we're going through here. Oh, okay, I think it's just a turn. So now that we've got that cleaned off, and what I'll do here is I'll push out as far as I can get. But yeah, that's what it is. It's just making a turn. Okay. So again, cast iron, does rust. Obviously, you can see that it, so it never looks real pretty. And so what you're looking for mainly is just functionality, and you can kind of see. As you push it, you kind of want the water to drain past it. But this looks like it's holding shape pretty well. A lot of times it's common to see, like in the center here, a little bit of a channel kind of worn out in the bottom of it. That's common. And rust buildup. There's ways. They call it descaling, that you could have this, kind of, basically they run a cleaner head through it basically, and they kind of scrape off, that layer of buildup and rust along the inside to make it a little more, basically try to bring it back to its original size and shape, to where it's a perfect circle. This is not anywhere near that level. This is consistent with the age and material. So, this is not a problem at all. I just always like to tell people also with cast iron is that it is more susceptible to soft clogs, meaning like excessive toilet paper. Wet wipes are a big thing to stay away from. You can use them, just throw them in the trash. They, even if they say flushable on them, they don't break down. They don't disintegrate like toilet paper. And so if they catch on, all these rough edges of the cast iron like this, then they get caught, and they can have stuff build up behind them. It's pretty common. I should say it's more common than, if you just use toilet paper will break down and just disintegrate into nothing, and so that way, if the water you know, even if it does catch, the water will break it down, and eventually it'll go ahead and soften up and go on down the line. But wet wipes can cause a problem there. But things building up behind them, and then they don't break down. And okay, so looks like we finally exited the house at 50 feet. This is a corner lot, so it's kind of hard to tell whether this goes out the front or the side. It could go out the side, could go out the front, but we're switching over to clay, which is normal. Clay's pretty much everywhere. Up until the late 70s, this is the most common exterior material used for the sewer, for sewer laterals and sewer mains under the ground. And so you can see here, I don't know how long the house has been empty, but even though this has been used, a lot of times, you can see by all the spider webs that water level has not gotten very high, and all the water in the fixtures has already been run. So far the clay looks really good. Most common thing we see with clay lines is some root intrusion. Just due to how the structure of the connections and stuff, they tend to allow some root intrusion. Oh, great. So we got a little bit of stuff on the camera here. Hopefully we can just keep kind of, do have some water running, but I don't know what in the world that even was. So we keep pushing, hopefully we'll be able to get out into the main or find a way to clear this off with a camera head. I'm not even sure what got on there, maybe some more spider webs. Those are some of the worst things because you know how sticky they can be if you get them just on your, yeah, there we go. Keep trying to rinse it off here, and that should do it. Okay. Alright. And here we are at the main. I actually think we are in a manhole. See the concrete and how it looks like it's open, and that's pretty consistent with a bench inside a manhole. It's making a turn, and then it goes back into clay. I'm going to leave that sitting here for a minute, see if we can rinse off the camera a little bit. The hardest thing to get off of these things is that the spider webs. Most other things can be easily rinsed off the front of the camera with some running water, but sometimes those spider webs, like we talked about, they are really hard to get off the front of the camera. We just want to make sure we can see well enough to get a good enough inspection of the structural integrity of the camera. So it's kind of hard to, as you can see. Try to move it around enough till we get this all cleared off. Does not seem to want to rinse off the front of this thing. Wow, I'm not sure what that is. Here we go. I am not sure what in the world that was. It looks like there's that concrete bench I was talking about. So inside a manhole, that's open into the manhole, and that's why it looks like that. So the good thing is that pretty much this sewer main, or this lateral, goes right into the manhole. The frustrating thing here is that there's something on the front of this camera that keeps falling over the lens. And so as I'm trying to get this to really hard to, I don't want to have to pull the inspection all the way back and then start it all over again just because of something hanging on the front of the camera. But that just seems like, and there's something there, maybe that's what it was. I saw that before. So hopefully there we go. And so from what I could tell, everything looked really good on the line. I didn't see any kind of structural damage or anything. So as we pull back, I know in through here we couldn't see anything on the way out due to something being over the front of the lens. All that stuff there is normal for the age, either some calcite or some really old dead roots. So here's the spot, and what this is this looks like old dead roots. You can see how it's got a coating on it. You can't see any exposed roots. And so these may have been treated with a chemical. There may be a spot where an old tree was out there. But if you notice the coating on it, and with no exposed, like finger roots, actively growing roots, look like they're coated. Now, you could have this cleaned, try to get it through there. You'd want to find a bigger access, but also as a precautionary measure, you could put some chemicals down there just to be sure that you're not having any issues. And by chemical I mean like Rudex, which is something that is used that could actually do similar to what you see here. And so at 86 feet you have some old root intrusion, but if you're worried about any kind of active root intrusion, you could put down that Rudex. It's on average about once a year. We'll see how things look, because I don't like looking at this spot too. That's like basically old dead roots. So there may have been a tree removed, or they could have been adding chemical down here to get the roots to look like that, like non-active. So I'll make a note on the report about that at about 86 feet, and if there's some dormant root intrusion. You see, this looks like active root intrusion. That's where I was saying how that looks more exposed. Yeah, and you can actually see it growing through. And at this point, there's not enough there. And it's getting in right at the connection where it switches from cast iron to clay, which is usually a slight bit of a, it's very common to have this, and like we talked about with the root intrusion, it's very common in general. And so, with the with this little tiny bit, I'm going to look around, and there may be something on there, or out there that might be evidence of an old tree, or maybe that, like I mentioned before, the chemical. And so we'll see what's around out there, but I believe this is very, very, very minor. And so even with this little bit here, it is, you know, this is very minor. And so you may want to, like, this could continue, but you may want to again use some Rudex or something after a year or so, just to try to, you know, make you feel better as a preventative maintenance thing to keep the root, make sure the roots stay down. But there is very little here that even if you tried to do a cleaning right now, I don't think it would really do any good. The cast iron all looks really good. I was hoping to see like a spot where there's a clean out in the floor, but there should be, based off the age of the house, there should be a clean out right before the line exits. But sometimes it's hard to see in a cast iron pipe just because of how rusty it all gets. It's kind of hard to distinguish where the connection comes in sometimes, especially if it's around a turn. But yeah, I mean, I haven't seen any kind of issues. All the cast iron is in good shape. You know, you can't tell how thin or thick these pipe walls are. And so, you know, if there's not an active hole, you don't know really how thin or thick the pipe is, but based off of the line on the inside, looks like it's in pretty good shape for its age. I'm going to turn the water off here now that we're back up close to the house. Or any closer to the clean out. And it should drain down pretty quickly. Because you do have a little bit of a low spot. There we go. So, this is that turn we were talking about before. And so as we're coming around that turn, it just makes it a little bit harder to see. Right there's the turn. So with the water draining down a little bit, you can see far enough in front to where you can tell there's not any physical damage or structural damage there. Just got a little bit of water there. And here we are, vertical, coming back out of the line. Alright. So, the line is really good. For its age, looked really good. The only thing I found to even note is at about 52 feet, there's a very small amount of root intrusion where the line leaves the house, where the transition between the cast iron and the clay is, and then there's some dormant. Looks like some dormant root intrusion that could be either from Well, the way it looks could be from an old tree, or it could be from using some form of root treatment, and that's why it's got that white look to it, because that is something that is an indication. Also, sometimes that's what dormant roots look the same when they either quit growing, or if that chemical treatment's used, they basically become dormant and get that kind of coating on it from stuff sticking to it. When they're actively growing, you can see early up at the 52-foot mark how they're exposed, and so you can actually see active growth on there. It's kind of like looking at the dead part of a tree versus the live part of a tree with leaves and without leaves. So but yeah, the line is fully functional and open and flowing at time of inspection. The line looked really good structurally. I didn't see anything of any concern. You just have that little bit of roots that might require, like I said, a little bit of chemical treatment. You don't need it immediately, but you could put some of that Root X down there and as a preventative maintenance thing in the future. And I think they recommend yearly treatment with that stuff, just to kind of make sure. But I'll also take a look outside and see if I see some remnants of an old tree, or how the line runs, to be able to kind of get an idea of, hopefully a better idea if that's old growth, or if it is from a chemical. But again, the line looks really good structurally. It's open and flowing at time of inspection, and no immediate concerns at all. So that'll end the inspection at 40 Westwood Drive in Erlanger, Kentucky.